Good evening. We're going to try to work around these technical difficulties. So at this point, we're going to try to do the easy stuff. Minutes, anything in this packet that doesn't have a person connected to it. And then hopefully in those 10 or 15 minutes, they'll be able to get the Zoom going. Otherwise, we're going to go to Plan C. Are we all good with that? Instead of just sitting here?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, so we just received the minutes, I think like a couple hours ago. I mean, I have not been able to review them. Can't speak for anybody else, but I can't imagine that we can vote on the minutes.
From 2024?
The ones that were just emailed to us like a couple hours ago.
From 2020?
I don't know. I mean,
We have time. We could read them.
Yeah.
People to read them. I mean, this one is.
I haven't been able to read
Literally
them. I'm
10
not going to
pages
vote
long.
on something I can't read.
All right, so
If anybody feels differently, speak up, but that's just how I feel.
let's just stand for the pledge and
Can we do that?
we can do that.
Recording, hopefully.
I'm hoping we're recording.
Can we just get a thumbs up that we're recording, please? Thank you.
Good.
All right, so I guess then let's do the select board budget, the town manager budget, all that fun stuff first.
Sure. If I may, Mr. Chair, make a prefatory comment just briefly.
Yep.
So we're diligently trying to try to support the budget as much as we can. We're working with the unions and we have health insurance plans, programs, but unfortunately, a lot of it's going to take some time. We're convening the PEC, the Insurance Advisory Committee. So that unfortunately won't be ready for this budget season. But the limited, unless some miracle happens between now and May, in which case we'll inform the committee promptly. But there's limited good news that we're looking to expand the opt-out program. So if you're not familiar with that, that's if you don't use our health insurance. If you were on the health insurance and you opt out of the health insurance, we'll make a payment to you of X dollars, and that saves the town substantial funds. So we're predicting by increasing the opt-out payment and rolling out a limited HSA, a health savings account option, that we can bring in an additional $150,000 in revenue. So what we would propose is to hire a half of a police officer for 6 months, half of a firefighter for 6 months, and 50,000 additional to the school department. So with your blessing, I'll formally bring that at a future meeting, but that's limited good news. At least we don't lose a firefighter, a police officer, and we can do a little something for the schools, even though they won't be able to, we can't hire them for the first 6 months of fiscal 27. But, by April, if we put out a requisition, then we can get something back in June, hire someone in July. So we'll have enough funding for 6 months of 2 positions and whatever, 50,000 would fund for the school, maybe a teacher or a support person. That's the limited good news. Any questions on that, or should I move to select board?
I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. I'm seeing a question. Paula?
Oh, God. So a half of a position, so like a part-time police officer, a part-time firefighter?
No, so
Confused.
so if we were to fund a police officer for the whole year, it would be 90,000.
Okay.
So what Chief Clark and myself are proposing is if we take 45,000 and say we'll fund a police officer for 6 months, meaning there's no one in that position right now, we would hire somebody July 1st. Or
Okay.
not July 1st, I misspoke.
January.
January.
1st.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm following you.
So a full-time police officer for the second half of the year.
Got it. And then, but it would be put in the budget for FY28 as a
FY27.
whole. Well, no, because
The following
for the
year-
following year, it would be a whole person, a $90,000
Be
person.
the goal, yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay. Select Board is essentially level service, so it's pretty much the same as last year. There is one full-time employee and limited office expenses, essentially flat. We have that department handles liaisoning with the Select Board, poll hearings, licenses, and vicissitude of other duties. Pretty straightforward. If there are any questions, I'll move to town managers.
Mr. Chair,
Sandy?
can I just ask, that's where our minutes are coming from, correct? Okay, so is that a stipend, extra stipend for that, or I'm just wondering, that was part of the Finance Committee line item before, and it's still in there, 2,300? That was just for the minutes? Can that be pulled out at this point for the Finance Committee?
No, that's actually part of Finance Committee still. And that stipend is going to the assistant clerk who is compiling the meeting minutes for years prior.
Okay, so that is a stipend that's going, okay.
Okay.
Next up is town manager's budget, and you'll notice that the budget increased a little, and that's because we transferred in one full-time employee from the treasurer's office, so it's a net neutral transfer. It's just not getting paid out of treasurer, it's getting paid out of the town manager's line. And that makes sense because we added an HR function, and this person supports human resources, payroll, and benefits for both the town and the school, and assists with many issues. She actually was instrumental in helping to negotiate down the health insurance this year that pretty much saved the budget from catastrophe. So this is essentially revenue neutral. You'll notice the operating charges and expenditures actually decreased a little bit, but there is that salary increase due to the additional body. Happy to answer any questions on the town manager line.
And the stipend increase, is that because of the switch from one department to another?
The stipend increase is due to the right, so the transfer and the assistant town manager both have stipends. One's for insurance and the other is for a classification and compensation study. Instead of paying an outside consultant tens of thousands for it, we're going to do that in-house for a much better deal.
I don't want to insult anybody. Do we have that expertise to do that study and come up with proper output?
I actually can't say enough good things about this employee. Even with this budget, she is underpaid and came here from a very high level position with the Catholic diocese and is frankly very overqualified.
Paula?
Why do you always look at me? So, the assistant town manager, it's a 13.4% increase in salary Was that something that was negotiated with her contract when she was hired? And if so, how many years of the contract? And is it a 13.4% increase for several years going forward?
Good question. All the contracts are available online, and to the best of my recollection, you're correct. That's exactly what it was, to bring this highly capable, qualified person in. That's what we agreed to at the outset. It wasn't this year, while doing the budget, we came up with that number. It was when the person was hired and brought on. And the following year will likely be the same percentage increase.
13?
I mean, I could bring up the contract online, but that's to the best of my recollection.
Mr. Chair, so that, she's already, then this will bring her to almost the max at that range, the salary ranges that we just approved
Right.
last year. So 13 next year will bring
13% is,
that.
And does the stipend get added into that range as
I
well?
mean, that, I mean,
I think we've bemoaned people, if that's a proper word, in the past by saying, hey, Prop 2.5. So to give someone a 13% raise is just fiscally irresponsible. And it's nothing to do with the person. That is just fiscally irresponsible if you know your income isn't going up double digits. That's crazy.
I agree, yeah.
I'm sorry. That's irresponsible. This is taxpayer money
Yep.
that we're supposed to be pretty deliberate with on where we're spending it. And not even in private business do you normally get 13% raises.
That's because the person's working for tens of thousands of dollars below market value and below what they initially presented in contract negotiations.
Could have turned
So
the job
we
down.
got a very good deal this year. And
It's,
the return on investment is already fourfold, at least.
I'm not going to speak for everybody on this committee, but I'm going to bet there are numbers of us sitting here who are going to disagree. That you know what you can pay,
And this is within the limits of what we can pay.
but you can't pay it year after year if you're increasing it 13%. You just can't do it. You then you're going to exceed the pay range of that position.
This is actually less than the previous person in that position was making.
No,
The 132 mark?
It's a different position, first of all.
the assistant to the town manager made 116.
That-
She got us, what was her raise last year, like 5 or
It
6%?
was about an $8,000 raise scheduled for the next 3 years.
It just doesn't look good. When we have, I mean, we fight every year for the schools for 2% contracted raises. It just, those teachers are gonna be sitting there watching this and then hear that. They're all probably overqualified too, but they stay here.
And police and fire as well.
It's.
Mr. Chair?
Qualified, don't take the job.
Was that Zach?
Yeah, just to clarify, I'm just looking at the contract, her contract here online. She's getting 121,500 this year.
That's more than.
Is that correct?
Let me
For the
look.
stipends, probably.
116 plus a stipend of 75.
Well, that's what's on her contract that's on the website. I'm just reading it off that.
Yes, that sounds correct.
Okay, thank you.
Since we're having problem with the Zoom, Steve and I had spoken on Monday. And
Today?
Steve wanted me to ask. He might have asked had he been able to connect. But he is very curious year over year with all the changes in this building. What has the impact of the turnover and the people who have replaced people who have left? What is the impact? Where's the salary overall gone?
So this is my first year here. Whenever there's turnover, there's costs associated with retraining, getting people up to speed. If it's public safety, they need to go to the academy. I would hope we're bringing in better talent that have better ideas and move us forward. And some things don't materialize in 1 or 2 years. Some things take decades. For example, human resources compliance. Eventually, we would be sued if we're not following federal law, if we're not following discrimination standards, if we're not following correct policies and procedures, of which currently there might be 1 or 2. And that's not following federal, state laws that we need to follow. So by investing a little bit today in fulfilling our obligations, we're saving funds for decades.
Mr. Chair?
That didn't answer my question.
Nope.
That was a very political answer, and I respect that. But it did not answer the question of what has the difference been between the old guard and again, I don't mean, please don't anybody take this the wrong way. The old guard under the previous administration and now what's changed under you. Where have those salaries gone? How much more, I guess is a better way to put it, how much more are we dedicating to salaries to replace the accountant, the previous assistant to the town manager,
Probably less.
IT?
But we're probably saving money and spending less than we were before.
Do we have a dollar amount there?
I don't have a photographic memory. I can certainly look at it and come back to the committee.
Thank you.
You can go ahead.
Anything else on town managers?
Yes, Mr.
Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
Mr. Chair. I was just looking, the town manager mentioned it should be a wash. Looking at the treasurer collector budget, it looks like it drops like 40,000, 41,000, but the salary increase for the town manager budget is 70 plus.
Could I stop you there?
Sure.
I'm sorry. So that was incorrect. If you look at the top of the page, it says fiscal 25 budget, and those numbers are just not the accurate numbers. So under the column that says transferred FY26 budget, that's not accurate, and I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you.
I can email the correct version tonight. I noticed that as well.
Okay,
Good catch.
okay, thank you.
Gavin?
Yeah. I guess I don't want to comment. I think the issue of Prop 2.5 and paying people what they're worth and attracting talent is a bit more complicated. You can't necessarily apply that 2.5 to this situation. But one thing that does jump out from this discussion is the contract says, I think next year the salary goes up to like 147. And I think the salary band goes up to like 133. So if we don't approve a bylaw change next year, what would happen if we had a contract that we couldn't fulfill? Or two legal documents in conflict, I guess, an individual
Well, I would-
contract and a
I would
bylaw.
hope we never have to cross that bridge, that we would bring a bylaw change and it would be approved by that time. But hypothetically speaking, I'd say the charters, the governing documents, the laws, we have to follow the laws. So we can't pay people beyond what we're authorized to pay them.
Okay. So stay tuned for spring town meeting for a salary plan update, I guess,
mean-
or fall town meeting
Did one, that's not gonna go, that's not.
on that position.
I mean, I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that the bylaws are pretty much updated every spring.
In one way or
Salary
another.
ranges weren't-
Yeah, the salary, I don't think is,
It's an
we
interesting.
looked at every year.
And, I mean, the person, thinking deeply, I don't want to go too deep into this, but if there's a contractual obligation, then we don't fulfill that, there might be some liability on that side as well.
Mr. Chair?
Paula?
So I guess I'm confused. Did you not know the bylaw, the salary range before agreeing to that contract that would have gone above the limit?
So we're like 15 months away from any hypothetical violation, and I don't think we will even need to cross that bridge. We can keep talking in hypotheticals if that's what the committee wants to do.
Okay. Next, unless there's anything else, next would be veterans.
God, we had that conversation this weekend.
So we have an outstanding Veterans Department, extraordinary, expanding services without a substantial increase. So based on contractual increases, it's only up a little bit. And the Veterans Department goes above and beyond every day, working with the seniors, working with the vulnerable populations, and it's essentially level service. That's all I have for veterans, unless there are any comments, questions.
Mr. Chair,
Gavin?
did they, just since you mentioned level service, did they request or are they looking for anything that they're not getting? Just out of curiosity.
Nope.
Not,
Nothing huge.
not that I'm aware of, no.
Cool.
No, they actually asked for, it's not on this page, but there's another page with the veteran, oh, there it is, the next page. They went up $500 in the veterans memorials. So instead of 1,000, 1,500, and I felt that was appropriate.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Treasurer collector?
Thank you. So treasurer collector, and as was noted earlier, that column in the middle transferred FY26 budget, that's not correct. The total personnel should say, instead of 277, it should say $317,708. I could give you the total for all the numbers, but I don't want to. I'll just tell you the total at the bottom. Instead of 335. It should be 368, 273. And I'll email you the correct version. I apologize. So essentially, we took a person out of this department, and there are contractual increases for the remaining people. The tax title amount is also incorrect here. On the sheet it says 71,000, but it's really 30,000 for this current fiscal year, and that's correct where it says 35,000 for fiscal 27. So the columns on the right, the fiscal 27, are both correct, the department and the town manager. Column that's not right is the FY26 budget. But it's essentially, I want to say level service, because the service of that person is now fulfilling the same responsibilities, just now under town manager HR and not under treasurer.
And is our new treasurer collector, is that pay higher or lower than last year? 'Cause that's empty.
So the new treasurer collector listed here is Lindsay Grasso, and she starts the 27th, so about 2 weeks away. We're very excited to welcome her here. She's the current treasurer collector of Abington, where she asked to stay on for a couple more weeks so she could finish a bonding project that she was committed to. And we respect that. And it looks like she's coming in at 103,000, which is pretty much identical to where the outgoing treasurer was.
Okay.
And we would save money because there's a gap in time between when we're paying the outgoing and when we're paying the incoming treasurer. So we're paying less for this new person.
Okay.
Mr.
Tracy?
Bill, the certifications, Mark, are those annual
The
for Lindsay and Jean?
Yes. So the Lindsay certification would be 2,000 for a treasurer's certification and 2,000 for a collector certification. And Jean, I'm not sure which certification she has, but you can ask her. Don't be shy, Jean. Certified
annual.
collector. Annual payment.
Do you see it on last year's? What's going on? So Wendy didn't have the certification?
So I am informed, Mr. Chair, that the technology is working correctly. I'm not sure if Steve is with us or not. Steve, are you there?
Steve has tried multiple times and got kicked out, so I'm trying to get him to try back in.
Okay.
Do we want to
Driving Zach, so he's, yeah.
go to the Council on Aging?
So the Council on Aging is essentially level funded. If anything, it's a slight decrease. What did increase was the electric bill. It was under budgeted this year, and it looks like it's going to come in a little over. So we increased that from 25,000 to 42,000. And the COA has had immense levels of success since the new building was built They perform one-on-one services. Their programs regularly overfill the parking lot. I had hoped to fund a part-time receptionist. Unfortunately, that just doesn't fit in the budget for fiscal '27. But they're doing so much with what they have over there. It's a very nice building. We're looking to open it up to the community on evenings very soon. And their programming is second to none. They have an exceptional staff, mostly off salaries, and there's a little bit of grants that they use to fund a person. So in this year's budget, we have one of the employees being funded 3/4 of her salary funded by what's called the Formula Grant. So that takes a little bit away from their programming capacity, but allows them to have additional staff on site. And I will say there's a tremendous number of volunteers at the senior center. So we actually promoted an employee to be the program director volunteer coordinator, which will help mobilize this army of 50 volunteers that regularly come and help out with numerous activities. If you haven't been over there and seen it in action, I'd strongly encourage it.
Mr. Chair?
Zach?
So, last year they approached us and we funded a part-time position because they didn't have enough staffing. So from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Sosi was taken from part-time, brought to full-time, and they were going to backfill her position. So I'm not sure, do we have an update on what transpired? I guess that position, from what I understood, last time I was over there, that was never filled.
So yes, that happened. Saucy was hired and received a promotion, and that left a vacancy. So evaluating the needs of the senior and community center, there was a gap in no one provided for who was going to take care of that multi-million-dollar building. So we thought it best to take half that part-time funding, put it towards a facilities person, so we don't let the building, deteriorate. Put the other half toward help at the senior center. So what we did was we took someone who was already working half-time at the senior center, half-time in the veterans office, and put her full-time in the senior center. So we added a half.
Facilities?
So we added a half person at the senior center.
As facilities?
No, not as facilities, as assistants. She's actually the program director, volunteer coordinator, and the facilities person we're working on.
Okay, so they should be turning back some money because we funded a additional position previous year.
Correct.
Mr. Chair? I just
Gavin?
wanted to quickly say it's very exciting to hear that they're going to be open in the evening, because that's kept it firmly a senior center, that it's only open till 3. A family member of mine wanted to volunteer and has to work till 5, so it didn't work out, but evenings could be really great for that and get more involved in making that more of a community center in addition to a senior center and connecting us with our seniors. So glad to hear it.
Yeah, it'll be at least Thursday evenings, hopefully a few more evenings a week.
Awesome.
And how are we going to staff that?
That'll be the facilities, part-time facilities person.
Paul?
A note from Steve that he's in, but he can't participate. I'm not sure why.
Bassam?
You're going to have to talk.
I'm in but can't participate is what he just sent to me. Quite frustrating, cannot respond to change settings to be a panelist. The process they gave doesn't work, period. He's frustrated.
I'm promoting him to a panelist. And I tried that like 5 times.
So,
Then I get a message that he declined to join.
Tell him to agree to be a panel. He may think that means something different.
So again, when Steve and I were talking on Monday, he did express in no uncertain terms that this process is not working and has not worked this whole cycle.
And it worked in the past years, no problem,
And it's
Mr. Chair.
worked in the past years, no problem whatsoever. So for someone who has said, I am going to be remote for this cycle, to have this issue week in and week out, you know, there's something wrong with how we're setting this up. Because it should not be this way.
So I promoted him twice, 3 times, and said that he declined to be promoted.
He's
Well,
right there.
I think he's
He's now
driving,
in
so he's
now.
trying to sign in, and it used to be you just signed in and you were done. We were panelists, we were able to play. That's the number he should have, that he just signs in and not having to play these games. But I digress.
I have a list of panelists, and Steve Evans is listed on that list.
Then why isn't he?
Mr. Chair.
Zach?
Yeah, but it's still,
So
shouldn't be that.
previously, there were 2 logins, one for the general public
Correct.
and then one for anybody that was a member of a committee. And they didn't have to ask for permission. Every time you got your invitation via email, you had your login credentials as a panelist. So you didn't have to do anything on your end, and it was just automatic. And then the public had the one that was publicized on the on the website. So I mean, it seemed to be an easier system than what we're doing here, and it required nothing from you. I don't know if we can go back to that system or we can look further into it, is all I would say.
Can you ask him if he's...
Steve, can we have a check that you're connected? Because you're on mute.
Yep.
No,
Thank you, Steve.
I just finally got a, can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear us?
I can. It's quite frustrating. Sorry to take away from the meeting to figure this out. I apologize.
Nope. Thank you, Steve. Okay. Data processing?
How appropriate. So we switched from a part-time to a full-time data programming IT director, and I was planning to say how effective things were. Besides today's mishaps, it has been generally effective, and the other conference rooms, I'll give you a chance. The other conference rooms are working good. I can't say how horrible it was when we first got here and there was nothing but static, and it actually generally works with there's been hiccups tonight. I get that, but we're actually saving money on this. So instead of spending over $100 an hour, we're paying $50 an hour, and we're getting substantially more hours of a more highly trained and qualified person, getting better service for less money, essentially. So you'll notice that the IT budget is a net reduction for next year, and that also includes spending $35,000 towards tech displays at the high school from the operating budget here. So IT's doing their part to pitch in, cut costs, and still come in substantially under budget from last year with increased service. Which kind of goes to the point earlier that these new people are costing less.
Mr. Chair?
Steve?
Yeah, Mr. Town Manager, I'm just curious. So can you explain a little bit how we can go from a part-time position with consultant rates to hiring a full-time person that's going to cost us less with certifications, current market? Just a little confused.
So we conducted an extensive process. We had dozens of highly qualified applicants. We did multi-round interviews, and the gentleman that we selected on after 3 panels of interviews had previously worked as IT director for, I believe it was a school department and a town department, had created a town department IT in multiple towns, familiar with all interdepartmental software technology. We essentially traded $66,000 part-time salary for $100,000 full-time salary. So that went up, for $34,000 up. But what we did in professional services, the big line in the middle, that reduced by $78,000 because that's what the consultant who we were paying $120 an hour for 12 hours a week, a full day Tuesday and half a day Thursday. So we no longer need that person.
All right, so with that said, and the budget that's in front of us, how many consultants' hours is budgeted for professional services for the consultant? And then who would control that contact?
I'd say the budget sitting before you today is 0 consultant hours, so no one's controlling that. If we run into a hiccup and need a second opinion, of course we would make that work. No one's infallible, but we would have to take away from something to add to that.
So then what is professional services?
It's mostly software, firewall, switches that we purchase through the consultant. We've been talking about this a lot lately. A person off the street can't just purchase firewalls like of a government grade. You need to go through someone on a list. So we still have to go through this company or another company who's also on a list. Yep. I know we tried piggybacking on some school accounts, but there were restrictions, so we couldn't use the same services that provide for them. But we are actively shopping around for all the services that the consultant that we used to use provides.
So we feel confident currently the position that's being filled today has the knowledge to set up new equipment, to program the firewall, to make sure the equipment's properly working and we correctly monitor it. We feel confident that that will be the case on a go forward with this budget.
Yes, sir. I am confident in our selection, and you could hear from him yourself if you like.
No, this is fine. I just get a little concerned when we're pulling the switch we've been relying so much on a consultant for a lot of this, setting up tech, to go and bring it in-house and not have that consultant. Just concerns me, even just to have the conversation about what we've set up, how they've set it up, switches, rules, etc. Hopefully we've debriefed and we have a good understanding of that. That's just my concern. So thank you.
Understood. And we did run both programs side by side like you do in any software transfer. You don't just go off of one cold. So there has been overlap, and our IT director is very serious on things like cybersecurity, firewalls, and very insistent on that we do it particular ways, as he should be.
Mr. Chair?
Brandon?
Mr. Town Manager, what is, there's $35,000 for additional equipment. Just curious what that is.
So that's tech displays for the high school that we were able to put into the operating budget, and that way we don't have to put it in the capital budget.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Paul?
You're
Just
welcome.
curious, Mark, the department request for telephone communications is 107, and you kicked it up to 122.59. I wasn't curious why.
So we consolidated all phones that were housed under 15 different departments and moved them all under IT. So we reduced corresponding lines elsewhere.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Gavin?
Mr. Town Manager, can you help me understand? I think there was, gosh, one of the departments came in. The assessor mentioned getting a cell phone. Is that a different effort than this?
Same effort. That was the department recommendation. Yeah, you'll see the town manager recommendation.
Moved it.
Moved that from 2,000 to 0.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then IT was able to do it for 400, I think.
Cool.
So
Thank you.
Okay. So I think that covered everything except schools, correct?
that's right. So we had schools recommended at plus 1%, which is 371,000, and I understand the school committee had a different idea, and doing the best we can.
So, before we get into the fun of this budget, it's my personal belief that, education is one of the things that separates, this country from many others. And so I know that, this budget is less constrained than most of the other ones, which have particular, personnel expenses here and everything else there, where school can kind of lump it all together. But I got really concerned seeing that just to keep up with salaries was a $2 million hit, or a $2 million line item, and yet our recommendation, your recommendation, was like 300,000. And so,
Closer to 4.
still way short. And so this morning I had reached out to Dr. O'Neill and I asked her in an email, I said, I don't know if this is going to change your number, but what would the number be to not impact student-facing positions? Because my wife is a teacher. God bless her. She tells me what goes on in school, and I'm like, I'm glad you're doing that because I couldn't. And so to take away student-facing positions, I think is way more detrimental than a lot of people understand it to be. So with that, Dr. O'Neill, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you very much for having us back. And also thank you to the chairs and the town manager's willingness to switch. I think we were originally scheduled to come on Wednesday night, and I have a school committee meeting. So haven't worked on the cloning yet, so I appreciate your flexibility in allowing us to come tonight instead. So I think, to answer the chair's question here, for the FY24 budget, we cut 11 positions that were all, across all different areas of the school budget. And then in FY25, we cut 29 positions. So over 2 fiscal years, that's 40 positions. We were able to bring back about 3 at fall town meeting in the fall of 2024. So to answer your question, there's really not a lot of positions that are left to be eliminated. They're not student facing. You have my team. As you saw in one of our examples here, the expenditures by function, we spend considerably less on administration than the other comparable districts. We're at about 2.2%, where some of our other locals are in the 4 or 5. So we're pretty lean as it is at this point. Christine and I have spent an incredible amount of time looking at options to make this budget work. And we are able to get down to that 1.2 million. But it does include probably about 8 to 10 staff positions. There are positions and there is flexibility because of some of our enrollment at the elementary level. So I believe that we can reduce sections at the elementary level without much of an impact when it comes to class size. Then from there, we would be looking at some specialized service providers, which my recommendation would be based on the current IEPs of students, we can absorb that cut. So the question is, if we didn't want to impact any further than that, I would say it would be an additional $400,000 for the schools, for us to not have to redo our entire special education model at the middle school. That would be our next step when it comes to position elimination. For those of you who have had students at the Norton Middle School before or have students there now, you'll be familiar with the way that our team setup is currently. So we have 2 teams per grade level. One is purple, one is white. And the way that it works right now is that we have 1 inclusion special educator for each team. And that way the educator is able to provide services to those students on IEPs based on their grid. And that it looks like pushing into classrooms for support for math, ELA, science, social studies, pulling students out when they are required to do an assignment or take a test in a small group, and then work with the content teachers to provide their accommodations. What we would need to do in order to get to that 1.2 is we would need to revise how we're currently doing that and have 1 special educator per grade level versus per team. And so what we would probably need to do is to backfill with a paraprofessional. So you would have 1 highly qualified educator providing services, and then you would have a paraprofessional supporting those services versus the 2 educators at 1 on each team. So that's the next step for us. We also are able to make that work by moving some of our facilities, our revolving accounts. So putting another staff member into facilities revolving, using more circuit breaker funds to pay for special education versus, having that as a little bit of a cushion down the road. And then we're also looking at other things such as student activities. So while student activities, parents do pay for their children to participate in certain clubs, we have a huge amount of middle school sports, which a lot of communities around us do not have. We have a huge amount of clubs. And while parents pay a fee for their child to participate, it doesn't fully pay for the cost of those programs. So those are things that we're looking at as well. So I hope I answered that question. I do feel okay with some of the reductions that we'll be doing. We have the ability and the flexibility to make it work for next year. How long we'll have that flexibility, I don't know, and it really is all a numbers game when it comes to enrollment.
Thank you.
Of course.
So, Mr. Chair, just, Doctor, the town manager had 371 in there, and you're looking at another 4 would make things work, so 731?
So that was, Bill's question was what could we do? And I will always answer honestly. And I think Christine and I feel comfortable with that number. So we would still eliminate the elementary classroom sections, and we would still look at specialized service providers. That's would continue to be a cut, and we would also move some of those line items around. So I think it would be a reduction of closer to 800,000. Hold on. Yes.
Sorry, just clarification, Mr. Chair.
Paul?
Dr. O'Neill, so even if you were able to receive another $400,000 for your budget, you would still have to revise how you have the special education teacher per unit at the middle school?
No,
or-
that would be
okay.
our last.
If you didn't get that, okay.
If we were able to get a little bit more, we would still do some movement when it comes to elementary section. So for example, we have our retirement, we have our resignation, we would not backfill those positions, so no one would be getting laid off in that scenario, but there would be, again, there's still fewer positions. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. There are still two fewer positions than they would be. Plus, we would do an additional layoff for an elementary classroom and move numbers where they need to go in order. So for example, you've heard me all talk about the number of students that we have in 4th grade going up to 7 sections of 5th grade. We absolutely have to add that 8th section of 5th grade, and we'll just have to play with the numbers in order to make it work. And then we would look at the service providers, but we would not touch the special education model at the middle school at this time with that.
Mr. Chair?
Sandy?
So my understanding, Dr. Neal, is that right now we're going off the governor's budget, which is $75 per pupil.
Correct.
And last year we got 150 when the House and Senate came
Yes.
in, right? Which that should be coming out mid-April is typically when the next group, I forget who it is, weighs in. If that were to go back to, which I can't imagine them decreasing, but who knows? But if they were to go back to what they recommended last year with the 150 per pupil, what would that increase look like for you?
So I'm going to do some funky math.
Okay.
Super off the cuff here. It would be 2,086 students times $75. That would be the increase that we would expect. Typically, the governor's budget does not get voted until July. So usually, we as a town have to kind of play with the numbers that we have up until that point, and then things come back. The important thing for us to consider is that those funds do not go directly to the school department. They come to the general fund. And so a few of you may recall, I believe it was fall town meeting, and I'm trying to think of, it all blends together after a while. I think fall town meeting in 24, where we came and we said, we're asking for, it was around 160,000. That was the additional Chapter 70 funds from that year's budget. I believe that year was $104 per student. So that would be something that would need to be approved by the community at fall town meeting if that the additional funds are available.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess Mr. Chair, just to kind of follow up on that. Personally, I know we kind of play this game every year, but if we get the next, the House budget comes in, House Ways and Means budget comes in, and they're up to the 150, I would just assume give them that piece of the money now, rather than going back and trying to give it in the fall. And I guess my other, this isn't really, I don't know if this is the time to talk about this or not, but the drop I appreciate that we're trying to eliminate one-time revenue on ongoing expenses, right? But we're looking at a 43% drop going from 2.8 million to 1.6 million. When you count the ambulance reserves, the free cash, and the stabilization that we spent last year to this year, I think that's I think a little more gradual of a drop would be more appropriate, especially if we're looking at potential cost savings in other areas, which originally you had said we were going to be, looking at down the road and take time to materialize. If we are going to see those cost savings, then perhaps we don't drop so significantly in this 1 year.
Anybody else?
So, Mr.
Chair.
Chair? So, Doctor, to piggyback on that, when you get the money back in the fall, it doesn't help you as much as if we do it in May, correct? Will you?
It's a little bit more challenging for us. Mr. Gould mentioned earlier about the police and fire starting in January because it's a year-long position, and I'm sure that they would much prefer to have new officers and new members of their crews on July 1, but they're able to kind of offset it where school starts on September 8th or whatever the date is for this upcoming school year, and that's when school starts, and we have them until June. So we don't have as much flexibility when it comes to hiring people after a fall town meeting. The community was extremely generous a few years ago after we had those massive layoffs, and we walked away from town meeting with the ability to backfill some of those positions that we lost. It was really, really challenging to actually find people to do the jobs at that point. And one of the things that we did and have continued doing since that time is instead of hiring full-time interventionists, we've hired tutors. And so we have reading tutors and math tutors, and they're not full-time employees. They work about 20 hours a week for us. We don't have to pay them benefits. And we were able to get multiple tutors to work with us with the same funding that we maybe would have paid for one person full-time, which was honestly, it's been a great way to do it. And that's, looking at the way that the federal programs are going, we may have to consider that as our model for all interventions as we move forward. But that will really depend on the title funds and how the federal government continues to push those out.
One other follow-up, just, Doctor, just looking at like the high school, and when I look at the teacher salary line item, it's up 11.85%. Is that new positions? Is that strictly their contractual step slides?
That is, I'm going to make sure I'm on the correct page for you,
Yep.
Chief. But that is strictly their actual positions. So with teachers, you have steps and lanes. So right now, I might be a third-year teacher, and I will be in year 4 next year. So I'm moving down on the salary scale from step 3 to step 4. I may also be in a master's program at the same time. So I might be fresh out of college right now. I have my bachelor's degree, but I've been working towards this master's program. So I'm not only going down a step, I'm now going from bachelor's, skipping over bachelor's 15 to the master's column. And so it really depends each year. And that was, during negotiations, one of the big things that was really important to the school committee was getting a new salary scale that evened out those step increases. Our previous scale, some of them would be 4%, some would be 7%, some would be 2.5%. And so they did a really, great job negotiating with the Norton Teachers Association to get something that was a little bit more predictable. But it's very difficult to predict where people will move.
So again, with that kind of pressure, though, you're looking at 11.85% increase in salaries alone. Very difficult under the constraints of Prop 2.5 to ever come in where it's not going to be nightmarish to come up with funds to try to fund it, and it just
Absolutely
makes it difficult.
And it, to your point, another school is at 8.8%. Another school is at 2.2. So it really depends on the seniority of the staff that are there and available. But yes, it makes it challenging for us.
Zach?
How you said there was, you were going to cut some of the programs, the clubs at the middle school. Can you elaborate what you meant by that?
So ultimately, it really will depend on what our final number is. I don't want to cut any things that impact students. And as I think those of you who have been doing this for a couple years, we know over the summers that we have last minute retirements or someone that doesn't come back from a leave of absence or families that move or whatever it may be. And we try to take those funds there. But it would really be maybe looking at sports at the middle school. We have a lot of sports offerings that not a lot of local communities do. We're one of the very few middle school districts in the Tri-Valley League that have middle school sports. And so we have to compete with the Mayflower League, which is districts that are a little bit further. It's not a huge cost to us. It's about $30,000. So I'd like to keep it if possible. But I think it's important that families understand that there are things that we can't always continue to do.
Thank you.
Of course.
Anybody else?
Thank you all. And again, I appreciate your flexibility. Thank you very much.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
The only thing left are minutes, but I think earlier we kind of tabled that. So don't lose these minutes because we'll do them Wednesday because we're all back here Wednesday.
For fire and DPW and a good number of town meeting warrant articles.
Yeah.
That's
Mr. Chair,
exciting. Yes.
on the topic of the warrant articles, I know at least one is a bylaw change. Do we have the final text? I think there are a few of them, honestly. Do we have text for any of the bylaw changes that were?
I just received the first draft about a couple hours ago. I'm gonna review that when this meeting adjourns, and then I'll have to give it to KP Law for their review and bring it back. So that one won't be ready for Wednesday.
Which one? That's
The
snow?
bylaw one.
Snow? Is that the snow removal one? Is the only bylaw one? Which one? Which
Oh,
bylaw change?
I was referring to the personnel bylaw one.
Oh, okay.
There are a few other bylaws. The sidewalk bylaw, I just got that a couple hours ago too. There's the DPW director change bylaw, same thing. I just got those three. So sidewalk, DPW, personnel. I think that was it for bylaw.
I can only remember one of those, so you're ahead of me already. So yeah, I knew there were a few. Okay. Well, whenever you can. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Zach?
did we get the final balances of our accounts, free cash, ambulance reserve, all that after these town manager recommendations?
I will get that to you for Wednesday.
Thank you.
Is document-wise, given that, there's like a day here in between, is there anything of significance that we're going to be getting that we haven't already seen, I guess?
So I suppose the capital committee recommendations. So, I mean, if we're not ready Wednesday, if the committee's not comfortable, then we can do those the 27th. But I'll try to get those out as early as possible tomorrow, and in between reviewing the bylaws and the capital changes, the warrant articles. I mean, Fire's already submitted their budget, so you'll be reviewing DPW's budget for the first time. So I can provide those also. That'll be water and sewer. Highway, streetlights, snow and ice.
And speaking of capital, seeing that Dr. O'Neill is still here, is the roof part of capital?
The roof was recommended by the capital committee.
Okay.
It might make sense while school's here if
Sorry,
instead of asking them to come back.
I know.
You're halfway there. You're halfway there with the town vote, right?
Well,
Not
Sorry.
over till it's over. Well, I apologize. What was the question?
Well, the school roof.
Yes.
So, since we don't have capital yet, and only Zach knows what happened there, what is going to be proposed for the middle school?
Okay, so the Norton Middle School roof, as I apologize, I have slides on that too. I should have brought them with me. We have the opportunity to work through the Massachusetts School Building Authority for a 55.63% reimbursement. This is a full and complete roof replacement. What they would do is they would go down to the deck and they would replace everything between the deck up to the rubber roofing itself. As many of us are aware, that we have had consistent issues with the roof since it opened in 1998. There has been attempts at remediation over the years, but ultimately it is at its end of use, end of life. It's definitely time. The current process we are in is we've done a schematic design with our OPM and our design firm. Ty and Bond is the design firm. Next Level OPM is the OPM. And we're at about 25 to 30% design at this time. And so the initial estimate is 11.4 million. So that includes everything. That includes about $500,000 in contingencies. There's been a lot of questions about the metal aspects of the roof. That includes full replacement of the metal components. It has to, because we're going through the MSBA, there are so many different components that have to be a part of it. So for example, you have to budget for asbestos removal, which we know is not going to be an issue because the building was built in 1997. But you have to include it as part of the process. You need to include components to make the roof solar ready. The roof is already solar ready because there are solar panels up there, which have been nothing but a problem since the day they were installed. So we will never put solar panels on a roof around here as long as I'm around. And we have beautiful carports. So you don't need that. All of those items that are there lead us to the $11.4 million tag. Typically, what the OPM and the design firm find is that when you go out to bid, so hopefully we've passed at the ballot, hopefully we will pass again at town meeting on May 18th. Once we have that approved by the town itself, we will be able to go to the next level of design, and it will get it to more like 75% design, and then we can go out to bid. The goal would be to go out to bid late fall of 2025 for the project to be done. Yes, it is 26. Thank you, Peter. Gosh. Thank you, Peter. Whatever year it is, it would be to go out in late fall for the actual work to be done in the summer of 2027. So kids would be done, school would end, the roof would start. And so ultimately, once that's been done, typically the bids come in somewhere between 70 to 80% of the original estimate. So 11.4, roughly say 70 to 80% of that, you're around 8 million. And then we get the 55.63% reimbursement. So for every dollar we spend as a community, the MSBA is going to pay us back 55 cents on that dollar. The other component that I think is really important, and I know has been a big topic of conversation on social media and with the members of the town, is the metal roof component. You could do asphalt shingles as well, and it's about $1 million difference. The metal roof is about $1 million more. The asphalt shingles is $1 million less. All of those decisions will be made in partnership with the Permanent Building Committee, with the OPM, the builder, but they're all considered as alternates when we go out to bid. So whoever is going to be doing the bid is going to have to say, this is what it's going to cost you to do the metal. This is what the cost differential would be to do the asphalt shingles. So that is all in there. And they would also be, because building code is different now in 2026 than it was in 1998, they need to, it's going to be a thicker set of insulation, so that has to go up a little bit. It makes the rubber go up a little bit higher, which means the curbing is going to need to be fixed a little bit. And the curbing, parts of it need to be, not a roofer. There are components of brickwork that will need to be done in order to make sure that the through wall flashing is properly installed, which it was not the last time around. So it's a very expensive project. I understand that. I think the best thing for us is knowing that that is really what it's going to be. It's kind of like budgeting for vacation with your family. You want to make sure you have more money budgeted than what you're going to spend, and that we get the 55% reimbursement. So the town as a whole will not need to borrow that 11 million. They will borrow what is needed, and then we get the reimbursement. And I also have, and it's all on our district website, the whole presentation. I believe the annual cost on a 20-year term for the average home, which is average at $565,000, is about $65 a year for the taxpayer. And if they were to do a 15-year term, it would be $75 a year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My only question is...
Only one?
Only one. Given the last month where oil has gone through the roof, no pun intended, what is that going to do to the original budget?
So when we took a little bit more time to look at our options and say, there's no way we can do this for 2026. We have to do it for 2027. They did build in inflation to those costs as well. Whether that inflation will be sufficient, I don't think there is a single person in this room that can answer that question right now. But that's another reason why you put the full amount out there. And we know that, we should come within that 70 to 80% of the original estimate. But I think only time will tell, unfortunately. And I think unfortunately, that's going to be for anything for us for the foreseeable future.
Paul?
So, Doctor, when I saw the difference between the 15 and the 20-year, I thought it was a no-brainer to do the
Yep.
15. And I hope that that's the direction you go.
And so ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't believe that will be my decision. I believe that will probably come from the town side, whether that will be the town manager in partnership with the accountant and the finance committee. The actual borrowing of the money is not necessarily the choice of the school committee or the superintendent.
Mark, who has that final say and what's the criteria?
So town
Minutes
meeting authorizes town manager and accountant sign off, I believe. And my numbers are actually less expensive
Oh, you have
than
lower numbers than I do?
yours.
Okay.
We priced it like a month ago, so I don't know if you have more recent numbers. But
I received numbers from the town accountants maybe 2 weeks ago.
Ours started at the same range
Okay.
that yours did, but
Yep.
then it declined.
Yes,
over
over
the
time.
life of it.
Yes,
So
yes.
it reduced to half of what you're saying over
Yes.
20 years.
Yep. So
Okay, same numbers.
same number. Sorry. Yes. So that would be the high.
What would be the decision process?
Each year it drops a little bit.
What would be the decision process, Mark, between a 20-year versus a 15-year borrowing, where it seems like it's such a de minimis difference in payment?
We'd have to do it to best meet what the people voted on, what the intent of the voters. So I think that would be the least cost over the life. So if those are the numbers, then 15 years makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, it was pretty close. I'll be honest, it was less than I thought it would be when we really looked at it. So I was pleasantly surprised.
Silence. I know. Silence.
Mr. Chair?
Not silence. Steve.
Sorry. I'm just, who oversees the actual project itself? Is it representation from all around the town?
So the project itself will fall under the purview of the Permanent Building Committee. So for example, we have a school committee member that serves on that committee. There is a select board member. There's a finance committee member. And so they have the oversight. And then there are also a few other members that have more construction experience. We also have an owner's project manager that would be working for us as a town and overseeing this as well.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
You're dismissed.
Mr.
Zach?
Chair? Dr. O'Neill, before you go, do you want to talk about the other capital projects while you're here, in case people have questions?
Of course.
The committee also recommended, you can explain it best, new switches, new computer switches for the schools.
Okay, I actually, I'll be really honest with you, Mr. Tillis. I don't know that I can explain it best. So ultimately, we have requested funds from the capital committee to replace the switches for
Network switches. Call them
network switches. Paul and Karen, I think, probably did a great job explaining it. Network switches for all of our internet within the school system. So recently we updated the Wi-Fi. It was a great opportunity. However, the switches, and there was a great example of basically like you're driving down the highway and like the switches are your exits to go to different places. So ours are about 12 years old. Typical life is about 10. And so we are experiencing a lot of slowdown when it comes to being able to access things. And it's just like anywhere else. And I'm sure the town hall is the same and police and fire the same. Everything we have runs on the internet. Our phone system is totally internet based. All of the video cameras that we use for school security, our alarm systems, the way that we contact with police and fire if there's an emergency in the building, everything runs on these switches and they need to be replaced. The amazing thing about it is that once again, we come to a reimbursement program. So through the federal E-rate reimbursement, Norton, when we came to present at the initial capital meeting, we were expecting a 50% reimbursement. And that same day, Norton went to a different category and now we're at 60% reimbursement. So I believe the total all in on the switches, and I apologize because I was not thinking I was going to talk about this. I think it's about 250,000.
I thought it was 350, but
Okay.
350 gross before.
Yes,
before the
and then we would get
reimbursement.
reimbursed the 60%.
Correct.
So, okay, 350. Thank you both. I appreciate it. Excuse me. So, we would be reimbursed for that. So that was, I believe, something that came across with the capital committee, and I don't want to speak for you. I think you guys were.
Yes, it was recommended, yes.
And then Mr. Gould mentioned earlier tonight that they, instead of doing the 35,000 for the switches, that the boards, that we would be able to do it as part of the budget. So thank you very much for that, because that was news to me. So we're appreciative.
you're welcome.
And other items, the boards were one of them, but it's been moved around. Even though the school didn't request it, the capital committee recommended some additional funds to finally get the parking lot paved in front of the middle school. And even though, while we're on the middle school, even though it's not part of the schools, it's part of Parks and Rec, to finally get the racquetball courts over there, or pickleball courts over there. completed. And I think
Wonderful, thank
that's
you.
all you had. I guess I missed something.
Nope, unless I missed something too.
I
But
thought there was more displays, no?
there's one for fall. I think.
I think
We usually do
no,
a spring payment and a fall payment.
I think we already approved it for the spring.
Oh, well, thank you.
So
You've been very
there was
generous.
two-
Mr. Chair?
Christmas came early.
Steve?
I'm just curious, Mr. Town Manager, did the tech department review the specs for the switches? Is it consistent with what you expect for the rest of the town?
I understand that we heard extensively from the school's tech department, and with the reimbursement, but we're satisfied that it's appropriate at this time.
Mr. Evans, if I could maybe answer that question as well. So we have to go through a bid process for that job as well. And what happens is that each of the interested parties has to come out and they have to do a site visit with our network administrator, where they are able to come in and they take a look at our current system. They run a bunch of tests to kind of see where things are operating and where we need to be. And then they put their proposals together based on that site visit. And then it also still has to be approved by E-rate. So we need to send the bids to them and they have to approve it, which they have, in order for us to be reimbursed the 60%. So hopefully that helps.
No, it doesn't. I appreciate it, but I'm looking just from an overall standardization of town equipment, make sure
Okay.
that all are on the same page. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd run.
Before we call you up again.
Again, no minutes for tonight, so is there anything else anybody wants to discuss?
Mr. Chair,
Zach?
just timeline. What is left to go over before the committee starts to vote and make its recommendations?
So Wednesday will be a heavy substantive DPW heavy meeting. You've already heard from fire, so that'll be part 2. Beyond that, police agreed to come back. He's out of the country this week, but he'll be here the 27th for police part 2. Beyond that, that's pretty much it.
So, Mr. Chair, so the week after the school vacation week, that'll be the time for us to have our deliberations?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's been posted in the paper and advertised for the public hearing on the 27th.
Mr. Chair, could you just remind me, do we have a meeting on the calendar for Monday, May 4th, I think it is? Whatever that Monday is.
I thought so.
Yes, that's the meeting to approve the Finance Committee's recommendations on, like, after the vote, the formal write-up that goes together with the warrant and is distributed at the meeting.
The Finance Committee report for the warrant? Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Anything else?
If I may, Mr. Chair, so we're trying to shake the couch cushions. If we do somehow come to an agreement with the unions or, whatever, that we can find more funds to help out the schools or other departments, I'll be in touch and would ask your indulgence if we can, have a meeting if that's a late breaking event.
Thank you. Anything else? Then unless people want to sit here, I would take a motion.
Mr.
Adjourn.
Chair, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes. Yes.
Sandy, Tracy.
Yes.
Oh gosh, Bonnie.
Yes.
Wow. Paula?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
I too am a yes. That's unanimous. Thank you.